Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. That's right. You're joining us at SUNY Broome Republicans, the podcast for you, the students at SUNY Broome, for the community, for everyone. And we're going to be talking about the things that affect all of us, from the campus all the way through the rest of our lives, through the community and everyone else. And of course, you have your two favorite hosts. That's Michael Voss.
And Michael Woodward.
Can I get my tagline out?
Sure.
No, it doesn't matter. It's the Dragon of the Southern Tier. Yeah, he killed it. Yeah. He has so much fun with that sometimes. And, of course, Michael Woodward, who is the president of SUNY Broome Republicans. It's good to have you back.
Thanks for having me again, Mike.
Well, it's your show, too, so
well, you know.
I don't get a choice. We have fun, folks. We have fun. But we're not alone today.
No, we're not.
We have a special guest with us.
Yes, we do.
Please, introduce her. Dawn
Scheffler. How are you today?
Hi, I'm great. I'm glad to be here.
That's right. We have her on our podcast, actually our first call-in guest, and we're happy to have her here today. And Dawn,
I feel honored.
Well, yeah, you are the first. You know? And I think it's a great way to bring in our first guest live. You're on the phone with us, just so people know. There is a lot that is going on with SUNY Broome, with the students volunteering, and there's actually two major events that are going on right now, as I understand. Am I right?
Absolutely. Well, I think towards the holiday season, everyone kind of gets more involved in community activities. But my particular group, I am the student vice president for SUNY Broome's chapter of the National Society of Leadership and Success. And we actually have two very large events that we are involved with. We are the sole hosts of Pancakes for Puerto Rico, which is coming up on Sunday, November 19th, which is a benefit to raise money for hurricane relief in Puerto Rico. And we will also be gathering toy donations and volunteering at the annual giving of the toys on campus, which is a huge toy collection that SUNY Broome does every year for the Broome County Toys for Tots. It is actually in the 21st year. This is the 21st year that SUNY Broome will be holding the annual giving of the toys. And it is sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to interject because a lot of people were taping this and it will be coming out afterwards, so it's not live. But today happens to be the 242nd birthday of the Marine Corps. So to talk about Toys for Tots on the Marine Corps birthday is perfect. And as a former Marine myself, I love it.
And on Veterans Day as well.
Well, that's tomorrow. Yeah. One thing I would add in, and I do want to throw in a plug here, for everyone who wants to hear more about the Pancakes for Puerto Rico. Not only did we mention it here, but it's also on my podcast, which is the No Soundbites Allowed. Go check it out. You'll learn more about it. Come down on November 19th to help people in Puerto Rico improve their lives because of the devastation of the hurricane. But we wanted to talk about here more about Toys for Tots. When did you get involved with that, Dawn?
This current year, the guy who is emceeing the annual giving of the toys, he kind of took it over. He obviously hasn't been there for 21 years, but he took it over. Is Jason Boring, the director of student activities on BCC's campus. And he also happens to be our advisor for the National Society of Leadership and Success. So, in conversation with him, we decided that it would be a great opportunity for us to kind of, as a group, help this wonderful cause of Toys for Tots and really kind of become more involved with the campus community as a whole.
Cool. That's great. And
I think it's a great idea, and I will tell you something about Jason. He's an extremely supportive gentleman on campus. I mean, I can't thank him enough for what he's done for us as far as a group goes as well. To support getting it going, support as far as helping me get it going. And the Toys for Tots, I can just see how much involved he must be.
Oh, well, who wouldn't be? It's a great cause.
Absolutely.
You've got the Pancakes for Puerto Rico. Sorry, I always want to say Puerto Rico first. It's Pancakes for Puerto Rico. You have Toys for Tots. And how long are you going to be collecting toys, by the way?
Well, we will be taking toys Well, the thing is, the way that the annual giving of the toys works is every club and society on campus actually collects toys and has their members raise toys, like every department does. Like the basketball team usually buys a bunch of basketballs and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So our members will be in the act of buying toys themselves in the next few weeks. And also, if anyone would just like to give a toy, then isn't involved in any campus activity and perhaps can't come to the annual giving of the toys themselves to give their toy, they will actually be able to drop it off to us. If they would like to do that, then they should bring it to Jason Boring's office in student activities, and he will take the toy from them and give it to us so that we will be able to donate the toy for them if they are unable to do it at the event themselves.
Now, where is Jason for non-students? Okay, how could they get the toys to Jason Boring, and where is his office located? Where's student services?
That is a very good question. He is in the old science building, which is the scary old building that people hate to go into, but they keep him up there. And on the second floor, you will actually see signs that say "This way to student activities." And if you follow the signs, this way to student activities, you will find the office where Jason Boring's office is, and his wonderful secretary, Sandy, who will also be very happy to help you.
Oh, that helps. That helps figure out where it's going to be. So thank you for that. Is there a phone number or a website for the Toys for Tots at SUNY Broome?
For the general giving of the toys, the annual giving of the toys, you probably will want to contact Jason Boring directly. It is on December 14th, and it is a large event. Most of the festivities happen between 11 and 12. They will actually be taking toys, though, all during the day on December 14th. But the main activities happen on 11 and 12, which is our common hours. So most students do not have classes then, is why they have it then. And they will have like Christmas carols playing and hot chocolate for people who want to come by and give their toys. But he's the main guy to go to, Jason Boring. If you would like assistance if you're having difficulty finding him, you are welcome to contact me, and I will assist you in where you can drop off your toy. You can just send me a text or call me at area code 607-761-5744, and just say, "Hey, Dawn, I want to give toys for Tots. How can you help me out?" And I will direct you to the right people.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Is there a way to contact, or should people contact Jason Boring directly, or just through you?
It's probably best if you're going to contact Jason Boring directly, it's probably best to do it through his school email or school phone number, which is found in the directory. If you are a student, you can simply log onto your school email address and begin to type into the Google search Jason Boring, and his contact information will pop up automatically.
Oh. And if you're not a student, you would just go contact the SUNY Broome, go to the directory and ask for Jason Boring, and that would be the way?
Yes.
Or they can go through the Facebook website as well, correct? The
Sorry, Michael, I couldn't hear you.
It says they could also contact you via Facebook through the...
Absolutely. The NSLS SUNY Broome Facebook page, any message you send to that, we will get. So that is a wonderful way to contact us, actually. If you just log onto your Facebook page, search for NSLS SUNY Broome, and you will have a direct line to us. And as I said, Jason is our advisor, so we can help you find him if you're having trouble finding him.
Okay, and that was NSLS at SUNY Broome, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Perfect. All right. Well, that, for the first time for the first guest on the program, I think we knocked it out the park. Don't you think, Dawn?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I'm very happy to have been your first guest.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk more about everything going on, especially this, as we go on in the weeks going forward. We're definitely not going to let anyone forget, not here at SUNY Broome Republicans, but we do need to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we have a couple of other things to talk about. We want to...
May I just...
Oh, go right ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I just, we love having donations for the NSLS, having the toys be donated to us, but you guys, the SUNY Broome Republicans, are now a club on campus, which means all clubs and organizations are asked to collect toys for the annual giving of the toys.
And we plan on it as well.
So you are now a club on campus, so you can also take donations and donate and bring the toys in your name.
Now, my question is, being a member of the NSLS and as well as being a member of the SUNY Broome Republicans, I can make 2 donations then, right? One through the group, one through the NSLS as well, right?
We'll go with yes, simply because we want as many toys for Tots as possible.
All right.
Double them up.
Yeah, but you don't actually have to. No, you can just donate for whichever one you choose. But since the goal is to get as many toys as possible, then yes, Michael, you must.
Okay, so I must now.
Absolutely. He said it on the airwaves. He's committed himself. There he goes.
Oh, wait a minute. She said something about that the lines were breaking up. Maybe they broke up at that moment. I don't know.
That's all right. I heard it. Don't worry, folks. We've got him taped. It's there. So, see, you're having so much fun, Dawn. This is how it is. It's fun. And we want to have more of the clubs and the other organizations and even regular students to give us a call and to be involved. For people who are listening in, you can always call 607-242-9247, usually on Saturdays depending on the day, we're going to tape either between 1 and 5. You can call, send a text first. We'll tell you if we're taping at that moment or when you can call back, and then we can put you on live. There's also the Twitter, which is...
It's SUNY Broome GOP.
Which is another way to contact us. But as I said, we're going to take a quick break. Dawn, let me double check. Was there anything else that you wanted to bring up before we end this segment?
No, I'm just very thankful that you gave me the opportunity to talk about this. And again, just remind everybody, Sunday, November 19th, Pancakes for Puerto Rico, 8 to 12. That's coming up quickly, and we would love to see as much of the campus community and the surrounding community come out and support us so that we can get as much money as possible going over there to the people who need it.
That's right, people. Share, like, spread the word, show up, be involved.
You can also contact it through SUNY Broome Republicans on Facebook as well. We have a Facebook page set up, so it will be posted on there.
That's right. And with that, we're overdue on time, so we're going to have to take the break right now, but we'll be back with you shortly with another segment on SUNY Broome Republicans. We thank our guests, and we'll be right back with you very soon.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming back and joining us at SUNY Broome Republicans. It's me, Michael Voss, the Dragon of the Southern Tier, and
Michael Woodward, president of SUNY Broome Republicans.
that's right, you have us both, and we're here with you. We've been talking. We had a great first segment, I think.
Absolutely.
I think it was great talking to Dawn, talking about the NSLS and Toys for Tots and being able to do things for your kids out there. I think that's always a fantastic thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great thing to try to help the underprivileged kids in the area, especially during the holidays.
I think so. Well, helping anyone and everyone. I mean, it's
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
any way we can help people is always great. So I was very happy about that segment, and I was very happy to have Dawn on, and we look forward to having others on. As you can tell, we can do phone calls. We got the system up, so we can take in your calls, and we're improving things every week. New equipment, plus minus a couple of learning curve here to get it all right. We're always improving. The show's quality is always improving, and we thank you for being here. But let's actually not waste more time. Because we have two more subjects to talk about today.
Yes, we do.
One of the things we promised in the last episode, episode 4, that we would be talking about the election.
Yes, the election. What a night that was.
Yes. Now, for everyone who's listening, today is November 11th. It's Veterans Day. I thank all the veterans out there.
Thank you for your service.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. But earlier this week, on the 7th, was the election. 2017 election for Broome County, the mayor's race, the county clerk, and a bunch of other offices.
Yes.
And if you haven't heard the news, which you probably have by now, the Republican Party had virtually a clean sweep. We had 10 out of 11 seats that were up throughout the county, and we won 10 of them.
Yes, 10 out of 11. There was one seat in Vestal, I think, that we...
Yes, it was Vestal.
Yeah, that was it.
It was expected. It was no surprise.
Yeah.
It says something that in Broome County, where there is a numerical advantage to Democrats, there's more Democrats than Republicans, we still saw, like in the mayor's race, a 60-40 split for the incumbent Republican mayor versus the Citizen Action far-left liberal Tariq Abdelazine.
It makes you wonder exactly what people think. Because it's obvious that what people think and what they're saying are two totally different things. It's almost like what people actually think they're not saying, or maybe they're even afraid to, or they're not talking their actual opinions to their friends, perhaps.
What do you mean?
Well, it's obvious that people aren't talking publicly on politics because numerically, well, obviously, Tariq should have won. Well, if you went by the registered Democrats. But it's interesting because today I was up on campus. I had to go to an S&T meeting. And there were 3 people that I talked to that were registered Democrats that voted for Richard David.
Well, that was very common. I mean, he doesn't get 60% without that.
Yeah, and the most common thing I'm hearing from everyone, Democrat and Republican for that matter, especially Democrat, is they're saying that if they could vote in the primaries, they would not be involved with the Democratic Party in any way, shape, or form.
But they can. They can vote in primaries. There was the opportunity.
Right.
Well, let's correct that. If there was a second challenger, if someone besides just Citizen Action were available to the public, then they could have voted in the primaries.
Right.
The thing that makes it very interesting to me, one of the things I noticed, and any of the history majors at SUNY Broome, please look this up and tell me. I find it interesting that a small segment of the Democratic Party, which is the far left, the progressive movement, have taken over the party. We see that nationally. We see that more importantly on the local level with Citizen Action. They are progressives. If you ask them, they'll tell you they're progressives, not Democrats, even though they're under the Democratic Party. When this splinter group is very, very loud. They speak loudly, but they only represent about 10% or less of the actual base of Democrats.
It makes me wonder exactly how many Democrats that are out there that would be considered what you'd call a John F. Kennedy Democrat, opposed to this new progressive order that we have, or they think they have.
Generally, it's assumed that if you're old, the older they are, the more likely they are in this current environment, obviously, as generations age, that changes. But roughly those who are 55 and older are more likely to be John Kennedy, Blue Dog Democrats, which, John Kennedy, if we were to be honest, looking at history and his values, he's more of a Republican and under today's values than a Democrat.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I guess what I mean by that is this. How many Democrats are out there that are just like us, that go out there, they work every day, and they're really not interested. They're not really interested in politics, but they're being forced to be interested in it because of what may happen to their own house. Because as they say, if you don't have an interest in politics, sooner or later, politics will take an interest in you.
Well, I don't even like that saying because politics affects everyone every day.
I totally agree with you. But a lot of us would like to think it doesn't, but in all reality, it's going to at some point.
Every day. I mean, look at SUNY Broome. For the students at SUNY Broome, look at it. Politics is affecting what the cost of your tuition is. It's affecting the cost of your books. It affects the cost or the availability of financial aid. It affects whether you're going to have a job when you get out of college. It affects what type of job you're going to get and what kind of pay you're going to get, and also how much of that pay you're going to be able to keep. So to tell me that anytime I hear people say, well, politics doesn't really matter to me, why not? Which one of those things I just listed don't apply to Joe, whomever,
Exactly. Well, that may be true until they get out into the workforce and they notice that their paycheck is getting smaller and smaller due to insurance premiums or income taxes.
Well, just look at, you have to pay more for your tuition. You have to pay more for your books. You have less financial aid, or it's harder to get financial aid. And by the way, these are not partisan things. Democrats, Republicans, both feed into this.
Well, what about, there's one thing that drives me insane, and for some reason someone has it in the people's heads that the only people that pay property taxes are homeowners. Now, when people's rents go up and then the property taxes go up, the landlords are paying higher property taxes. So in a roundabout way, everybody pays property taxes.
Well, everyone has to, yeah.
So there's your rent going up or down. So that's where politics affects you there.
Well, it affects everyone. And there is no aspect of life that isn't affected by politics.
Unfortunately, you are correct.
Yeah. There's just no aspect of life that doesn't affect politics, or politics doesn't affect. But let's get back to, we kind of detracted.
Yeah, we went
there.
off. But my question is how many of these citizen action people aren't working 40 hours? I mean, how do they have so much time?
I don't care. It doesn't matter. A bunch of them are students. A lot of them are retired. But that doesn't matter, Darth Vader. It doesn't matter, because whether or not they're working or whether they're spending extra time here, the thing that concerns me is, what are their values?
Exactly.
And here's the thing about the election. Here's the result of the election that probably is the most important thing for everybody, students and everybody else, to pay attention to. Citizen Action, which is in charge of the Democratic Party at this point, the splinter faction group, which is the far left, they have a candidate, Dan Livingston.
Right.
Okay. Dan lost his race. He was running for the county clerk. Dan, on Monday, the day before the election, had released to the public a postcard. This postcard was a piece of election material sent out. It was a mailer. And it was illegal.
Yes, it was.
It was illegal partially because of the content, the information it was sharing with voters. It was also illegal because it didn't identify who paid for it, who sent it out. So on several levels, this was an illegal document meant to change the votes of people in the county.
Correct.
Okay. Dan Livingston then came out that day, as the media was starting to report this slightly, that he, in fact, made the distribution, that he put this document out. And his reason for it was, well, he wanted to make a fair, even the playing field, because he thought he didn't get a fair shake. I don't know how he thought that.
How did he feel he didn't get a fair shake?
I have no idea. I can't speak for the man. He's his own candidate. But this is essentially what he said. But my thing is, I don't care what his reason is. You broke the law.
Correct.
You put out a document.
You mean like you did the last time?
What?
You mean like when he went to jail?
Yes. He has a record. But that's a question of the character of the candidate. But also, I'm looking at not just the character of the candidate in terms of did he break the law in the past. I'm talking about right now, right before the election, he went out, he violated election law, he tried to change the vote by lying to the public, saying things that were untrue.
Yes.
And spreading that around to try and increase his vote. And I have to say, two things about that. One, what if he had gotten elected? What would he have done then?
Yes.
And here's the other thing that's really important about that and really scary about it is where were the other Democrats? Why wasn't there a Democrat out there that said, hey, we denounce you. That's wrong. You can't do that. It's illegal.
Why would they do that?
Because it's illegal.
It may be illegal, but it seems like when it comes to their party, none of them ever come out against each other.
Well, I don't care about coming. This isn't about, well, now that actually, that's not true because Councilwoman Danny Krantz, who represents the 3rd District and is a councilwoman and is a Democrat, has been essentially disavowed and all of Citizen Action, every time I've ever heard them speak publicly or privately, have said they can't stand her because she doesn't follow the beliefs of the far left and Citizen Action.
My question is that they don't follow the beliefs or their direction?
Both. There's no difference.
So in other words, she won't do what she's told.
She won't do what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
She's actually listening to her constituents. But because,
isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Well, no, not according to Citizen Action. You're supposed to do what they want.
Oh, okay.
But here's the thing. Going back to it, they broke the law. Dan Livingston broke the law. It has nothing to do with partisanship or politics. He broke the law. All right. And shouldn't have every single Democrat stepped up and said, that's not what we stand for. That's not what our party is about. There are laws for reasons. Because I guarantee you, if it were a Republican who had done that.
Oh, my God, they would have been ridiculed.
They would have been all over the news media all day, all night, saying, how dare you? You must condemn them.
Oh, wait a minute. Do we really want to get into the press and the way they do things?
I'm talking about just Democrats right now. Their own party.
Well, they proved that they're obviously for them for what happened to you.
I don't, but I'm not even focusing on that. I'm focusing on, why didn't Democrats step up and denounce an illegal action that could affect a race? Because that's not partisan. That's not even politics. That is lives, people's lives. If you have someone who will abuse the power of an election, there's very little doubt they would abuse the power of being elected.
Oh, absolutely.
How can you not? And if the tables were turned and it was a Republican, they would scream bloody murder. My thing is, you should be screaming bloody murder no matter what party it is because it's illegal.
Absolutely.
And I have to say, if you're a member of the Democratic Party, shouldn't you be upset too?
You would think so, but that doesn't seem to be the case. But my question is since you're obviously the only one reporting this.
No.
No?
No, it was in the news for a brief second.
Oh, for a brief second.
Yeah. Brittany Moncrief out of Spectrum News. She broke the story.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she was the first, or at least she was the first one I saw that broke the story.
Yeah, so how come nobody was talking about this then? You're right. Why weren't the local Democrats screaming bloody murder about this as well?
And it goes back to, like we were talking last time, credibility.
Yes.
I can't see Democrats having credibility and looking their rank and file members in the eye and saying, hey, we're here for you. We want to take care of the public, because at the same time they have to say, but by the way, we allow criminal actions as long as it benefits our political gain, which doesn't work in the favor of the public.
Correct. Yeah, that's obvious.
I don't know, and Anthony Brindisi, who's also aligned himself with Citizen Action, which he did the first day he came down to the Southern Tier, first time he was in Broome County. He came down here and he jumped on the bandwagon with Citizen Action. And so I have to ask publicly, and I ask students as well, shouldn't you ask Anthony Brindisi, did he denounce Dan Livingston when he broke election law? And if he didn't, why not?
I guarantee he's not. He probably won't even have any idea what you're talking about, or he'll just deny it.
If he doesn't, he can't deny it. It's a fact. And if he doesn't know about it, how can he run for the New York 22nd District as our congressman?
Absolutely.
If he doesn't know about what's going on here?
Absolutely.
A major issue in his own party. How can he not know?
Exactly, especially since he's supposed to represent everyone down here as well as everyone from where he's from as well.
In Utica, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I ran for Congress. I knew what was going on in all 8 counties. I'm not talking about who was jaywalking. I'm talking about a major issue, an election issue. He should know.
Yes, he should. Of course, he could have been just ignoring everything as well. As long as it has to do with them, then it's fine, because that would have been if they were elected, and then if he's elected, okay, that would have been part of his power right there.
But that's not a reason. That's not, and that doesn't justify it. That doesn't add credibility.
Nothing
it doesn't make it better for the public.
Happened. Nothing justifies what he did. What he did is he lied. What he did was illegal. That's it.
Yeah.
What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. Period.
All right. Well, but of course, we went over time, of course. So we're going to go into the next segment. So let's take a moment. We'll calm down. And there's a couple of other issues I know you wanted to discuss as well. So we'll come back. We'll talk more about what's going on SUNY Broome campus. And we'll be right back with you all. Thank you for joining us. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us back. That's right, we're here for the third segment for our 5th episode at SUNY Broome Republicans. You're talking to and listening to Michael Voss, the Dragon of the Southern Tier.
And Michael Woodward, the president of SUNY Broome Republicans.
That's right. And we're here, and we're having a great episode. I mean, we've talked to Don already, talking about Toys for Tots and how that can help the community and the kids out there, and everyone wants to help kids. So that's a great thing, and the NSLS are doing a great job with that, as well as all the clubs.
Yes.
Then we've also got the second thing, which is also fantastic, that we're looking at. We were talking about the election.
Yes, the elections, yes.
A lively discussion there about what the consequences are, and really the question of credibility. And this could apply to any politician, but it just specifically happened to Dan Livingston and the Democrats.
I think that can apply to any part of life, especially for any students that are listening. You lie once or you get caught, per se, and it's going to follow you.
Yeah, you lose all credibility. It doesn't matter. If you're a news reporter or a journalist, that happened to a couple people in the New York Times.
Yes.
Totally discredited every story he's ever made. You look at it for a politician. You look at it for a policeman, a doctor. You name the profession, if you're caught and you've deceived people, the implications can start with being fired all the way up to criminal offenses.
Or if not, if you want to get into journalism or something of that nature, you could never work again.
Yeah. So that's, and that's just one aspect of it. So we did talk about that already, so I won't go further into it. Let's actually go into the real thing, the final thing that we wanted to talk about today, which is something that Dawn had brought up earlier. I know you were talking with me about it off air, is the consequences of government saying, we can take care of you. We will take care of you.
Yes.
The consequences of government inserting itself into the lives of citizens. And to be more specific, what was the example?
She was using an example of book vouchers, actually, and the financial aid. And for any students out there, you understand that it takes 6 weeks for this to actually hit the accounts.
So I'm pretty much sure that everyone's had this happen at least once. So as a non-student,
yes,
clarify for me, what's the process?
Well, the process is obviously you fill out for student loans or for financial aid, or as you know, I'm sure from when you were a student, and then 6 weeks afterwards is when they actually hit. Now the question being is when do the book vouchers come out so you can buy your books so you can actually study? When does the money hit the account for you to be able to go to the cafeteria so you can actually eat if you're in the dorms? When does all this start?
When does it start?
6 weeks in.
6 weeks.
Yeah. So how are you supposed to live if you're in the dorms? How are you going to live for that amount of time?
So that brings up the question. How are you going to get your books, transport back and forth, food, clothing, pretty much life?
Yeah, exactly. Everything, every aspect of life. That's the question. How can you eat? Eating is a big factor. And one of the things.
So are books.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of your professors are starting to do more and more on Blackboard, is because they want the information to get out there to the students. Now, you can go into the library and actually look at these books, whatever they may be, but you can't take them out. They have to stay on the grounds. They have to stay on the grounds being a library itself. You can look at them, you can study, but if there's not one available, then what do you do?
Well, it sounds like it's a pretty big mess all the way around.
Yes.
And I have to say, this doesn't make much sense. So, essentially, SUNY Broome is saying that, or the financial aid office, to be more specific, is saying that they can't give students the money that students have signed for and have been approved for and have done the paperwork for 6 weeks. And the reason why they're saying that is because...
It's my understanding they're doing this because of all the people beforehand that basically went for 6 weeks, got their money, and then bailed.
So it was a pre-existing problem.
Correct.
So people were already getting the checks 6 weeks in.
Well, in some cases, they were getting them a lot earlier than that, and that's why they changed. Supposedly, that's why they changed this law. The question is who is they? That's the one thing I haven't. No one has actually told me. Who is they? Who's the person that decided, or the committee that decided? Okay, this is how we're going to work things going forward.
Well, that's a very interesting thing, because was it a SUNY Broome decision? Was it a SUNY system decision? Was it a state government decision to affect financial aid this way? And I have to ask, is this the same thing that happened at all the other SUNY locations?
That's a good question, because Dawn mentioned that she went to BU and it wasn't the case. Now, if this is an ongoing problem, what I don't understand is why can't they just give a voucher on day one for you to get all the books that you need, and have on a computer on day one at the cafeteria that you can go eat? What is the difficulty? Because if you're staying in the dorms, what's the problem?
Well, I have a big question with this. And by the way, BU means Binghamton University, just in case anyone's wondering, for anyone who doesn't go to the school system. My big question is, why would someone put this system together this way? The logic seems to be, we, the state or the government or SUNY Broome, financial department says, we want to protect people by defeating fraud.
Yes.
And in putting this system together, they have not looked at the consequences and said, the consequences, well, we're going to harm students and make it very difficult for them to actually be able to be a student.
My question is how many could be students or people that could have been students shun away because they simply cannot afford that first 6 weeks?
It sounds like it's an economic disparity. And in fact, it sounds like it reminds me of the example you mentioned about gun control, where it's bias.
Yes.
Against those who are economically challenged.
Correct.
Otherwise known as the poor. You know, the PC words, they slip in even to me. Poor people are disencouraged to be able to get a gun license and to have a firearm by the economics of it.
Oh my God,
and,
yes.
And what it sounds like you're describing here is the very same poor people or people in that category are disencouraged to go to college because they're denied money to stay in college.
That's correct. And you know, they have a program at SUNY Broome that's called the Binghamton Advantage Program. They can go to SUNY Broome for a year, and as long as they hold their grades up, they can possibly get accepted to Binghamton University afterwards, which is a good program. However, what if they don't have the money to live on for that first 6 weeks? Even that program is denied for anyone that doesn't have the money.
Well, every program is denied. If you don't have money, you can't do anything.
That's right.
So again, it sounds like it's an economic disadvantage. Now, the real question might be, who implemented this?
That's what I'd like to know, and that's what nobody seems to be telling me. And I've asked questions, and I'm not getting any answers. Oh, that's just the way they did it. Well, who is they? Who is that they person? Or is it a they being a person, they being a committee? That's the answer that I can't get. Or the state in general. Who knows? Nobody's given me any kind of answer on that.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, because if we know who it is, you can address it with them. You can go back to them and say, hey, this isn't working. There's an unexpected or unaccounted for consequence that is harming the very people that you're trying to help. We need to change that.
Absolutely.
And until you know who that is,
yes,
it just continues.
Exactly. I mean, you don't even need to give any of these students just an open credit card. All you got to do is just be able to put money on their student ID so they can actually eat at the cafeteria, so they have something to eat while they're there. How about a bus pass so they have transportation around town for whatever reasons, because there's other campuses around town that they may have to get to. And the list just keeps going on.
Yeah, the complications are, well, it's like anyone without money. The complications is everyday life.
Yes.
So I can understand where that would be very aggravating. Is there any way to address this?
That's what I'd like to know. And again, I try to find out, and it's just brick wall after brick wall after brick wall.
Isn't there a system or a program or a process to question and seek remedy from SUNY Broome?
Maybe you could talk to somebody in the dean's office, perhaps, if they'll give you a straight answer, if you can get in and even talk to them.
Well, I have to imagine if this is as widespread as Don has mentioned, as you have mentioned, and has such a horrible impact, and potentially could be something that could be a disadvantage, purposeful or accidental, towards those who are poor or economically challenged, however you want to word it, that there should be, and if there isn't, a system to be able to correct this. And students, SUNY Broome students should be up in arms. I would imagine that this is something that everyone should be working together to try and resolve. I would imagine.
Well, like my first semester back in school, it was interesting by the least to say. I started in January, and all the financial aid stuff came through in March. Early March. It was like March 4th.
Well, lucky you. You've got a family, and
yeah, I'm established.
Yeah,
and I'm at an advantage. However, because I've worked a full career. However, you start talking about students that are just starting off in life. We don't know what their situation is that they've actually come from. I mean, there's so many different ones that they're not their fault.
No, no one's at blame here.
Right. Well, except for the state.
Well, I mean by students. None of the students are at fault.
Yeah. I mean, the students aren't at fault for their own situation. I mean, if they come from a wealthy family and their family can afford to pay whatever needs to be paid, well, good for them. But what if they're not? What if they're what if they're that child that came from a single mother that's working 2 and 3 jobs just to pay rent and be able to get on a bus? She can't afford college for her son or for her daughter.
Very similar to the way I grew up.
However, for some reason, they're trying to say that, hey, we're going to try to help you. Yeah, that's helping.
Whenever government is intruded into the lives of individuals, in every case that I've ever seen, it has always resulted in the same thing. And that result is that the government does, and again, I'm assuming that this is a state level thing, which sounds like it is. But every time that we have institutions interrupt people with their lives, it always works out for the worst of that person's life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because unfortunately, as we've seen in every other government program, at some point, there's always fees, or like my grandmother would always say, anytime that you take money from the government, there's strings attached.
Oh, every time. The problem is always with the government. I mean, or any institution that intrudes on people's lives. It always winds up going wrong because someone didn't count on, and this will happen too. A great example of that, a different example, Obamacare.
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, no, something that a lot of people didn't pay attention to. When it was first passed, before it even had the website and went into effect, the very first thing it did is it changed the accounting system for the government.
Of course.
Because it's adding income. To be on Obamacare means that you're getting extra money.
Right.
The extra money was counted as your personal income. And there were 340,000 families in America that suddenly lost food stamps.
Oh, geez.
Because they got Obamacare.
Wait a minute. You know what this sounds like? This sounds like Cash for Clunkers.
No, that's a little different. Cash for Clunkers just completely failed. It was a complete flop.
Yeah, but the money that you got for the cars went on your personal income.
Did they?
Yes, it did. That was a huge thing because my wife was doing taxes that year, and a lot of people lost a lot of money on subsidies that they needed, tax returns that they needed, and everything else because the $2,000 or $4,500 or whatever they got for a car, that was added onto their personal income. They had to claim that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I didn't know you had to claim that. I did know about, because Reuters did a study, actually a report on it, and they had broke the news that 344,000 Americans were instantly no longer able to get food stamps because of Obamacare, because it added the income and they suddenly became out of the bracket.
I am not surprised.
Yeah, so it's the unintended consequences of, we're going to help you, we're going to take care of you. What do I always say? The government, we're going to take care of you. Democrats, we're going to take care of you. Just say yes. And when you say yes, you lose.
Yes.
Every single time.
Well, wasn't it Ronald Reagan that said the scariest words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help?
Always. Well, hopefully you're going to be able to, through all the organizations, and hopefully all the students listening to this at SUNY Broome and their families and everyone who's considering going there, will be able to get together and try and ask the finance board or whomever it is at SUNY Broome and say, let's get a resolution on this. Let's get this resolved. Isn't there a way to fix this?
It's funny you say that because they had a sounding board the other day and no staff were allowed, which to me, if you have issues on campus, those are the people that you need there because they're the ones that have to answer for whatever the issues are on campus. Okay, because
what's a sounding board?
Sounding board, basically a bunch of students get together and they complain about different issues that are affecting them. Well, okay, that's all well and good, but if you're being affected on campus and staff is not allowed to be there, what's it going to cost? What are you trying to...
Wait a minute. So is this an Occupy movement inside the college, or is it a safe space? I mean, is that what you're talking about?
That's a good question. And that's the one thing I can't figure out. Is it a safe place? Well, I don't think so, because everybody's complaining. It's like a drama bomb that goes off.
Well, it sounds like a safe space. It sounds like Occupy movement. It's basically a bunch of people just blowing off. They're pissed off, and nothing is accomplished because there's no goal or purpose. If you're isolating the very people who can fix this, the faculty, and you have a problem, and faculty is the only one who can address it, why are they not there?
Exactly. That's the $100 question. That's what I'd like to know. But of course, what do I know? I'm just...
It sounds completely... someone who's outside the system, it sounds completely useless to me. Because it serves no purpose. I'm upset because I can't do X, in this case, get financial aid to get me the money I have signed on the dotted line for.
Yeah.
And that you're accountable for. And if you can't get that, does it really matter that you're just saying it to other students? They can't get the money either. You need to talk to the faculty. So hopefully this podcast will help to bring that out.
Hopefully. That would be nice.
And if there is any faculty that are listening to this, and we hope they are, please do let us know about that. But actually, we are out of time. We're over time again.
Again, as usual.
Yeah, I'll try and fix it, but we're over time. We don't cut content. We just cut the pauses in between. So what we will do is we'll say good night. We thank everyone for joining us at SUNY Broome Republicans. And don't forget about Toys for Tots. Definitely get involved to find about the financial aid.
Yep.
And pay attention to the politics out there. It's affecting you anyway.
Yes, it is. Big time.
Thank you, folks, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon.
All right. See you next week.